All right, looks like we are in good shape here. So what this week is all about, first Thursdays are going to be for strategy, and basically that can cover just about anything. It's really kind of the kickoff of, how you get things going and all that. So that's what this is for, really, is to answer any questions that you may have in relationship to strategy, or how you get rolling, or I can pretty much cover just about anything on this one. So anybody that wants to start off, go ahead and jump in.
Cynthia, they can't hear you, Cynthia.
Uh,
She's got to unmute her microphone.
there you go. I just unmuted her.
Oh, okay.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, good. Hello, everybody. I'm Cynthia Trevino. And Keyword Planner tool has always been my Achilles heel.
Okay.
And so I know with the ACT tool and your guidance and the team and everybody, I'm gonna master it this time, because I just go after it and then I give up.
Okay. So on the Keyword Planner tool, what troubles basically are you having with it? Where are you getting stuck?
Well, I sort of dream up, sort of the words that I think my clients might be searching on.
Okay.
And then when I plug them in, I mean, using the tool itself is a little painful, but it's changed a lot since I tried it. But what happens is I keep coming up with words that either have, I look at the column that says how many searches. So I guess my question is going to be, what's sort of the framework for how many keywords are searched enough or not too much to be like in medium levels of competitiveness? Because too many I come up with, it's like under 100 searches a month. And so that seems like that would be a waste of time, right?
Okay, well, not necessarily. So the number of searches kind of depends on what you're selling. If you're selling something that's low dollar, then you're going to need higher search volumes than that. It also depends if you're looking at it for pay-per-click or if you're looking at it for organic SEO. So if you're looking at it for pay-per-click, you can definitely go for low search volumes. That's not a challenge or a hurdle at all. The problem, or actually it's not even a problem, it's actually an opportunity when you get the smaller numbers like that. In Google AdWords, the reason that you're doing keyword research to begin with is on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to be driving traffic. So what you're doing is you're collecting these little buckets, and the little buckets should point to landing pages. One of the biggest problems with people that set up to do pay-per-click campaigns is they'll drop all of their keywords into one bucket, and they'll send it all to one landing page. There's a couple of problems with that. The first problem is it's very difficult to track and figure out which keywords are converting. And that's one of your biggest opportunities, is to know which keywords are converting, so you can buy more traffic to those keywords and you can eliminate the ones that are not converting. So when you're setting up an AdWords campaign, you want to set up more buckets, more ad campaigns that have less keywords, and you want to really get those keywords into like segments. It's all about segmentation. So the tighter knit you can get each one of those groups of keywords and send them to an appropriate landing page, the better off you'll be, the more successful your ad campaign is going to be.
So is that the same for, because my priorities are first organic search to get my blog up in the rankings a bit, and then secondly it's going to be for Facebook. So are the rules parallel when it comes to paid, both Google and Facebook? And then I know organic's different, so.
Yeah, they really are. It's three completely separate worlds. The search engine organic is a completely different world than the paid traffic. And Facebook is, again, a completely different world over there. because in Facebook you're looking at audiences. So there people aren't really searching necessarily inside Facebook. They're using Facebook, and then you're going to bring your ad up in front of them when they're using it. So with the audiences, what you're trying to do is you're trying to only display your ads to particular people. You don't want to display your ads just to, the so many billion people on Facebook, or you're going to waste a lot of money.
Right.
So the more specific that you can target your audience, and when you create your headline, like your headline for your ad,
Right.
your headline for your ad should be really dialed into that particular audience. You could have, it's the same thing, like Facebook is the same as the paid advertising on pay-per-click in the aspect of you want to segment your audiences. You want to segment your audiences so you can dial in your particular headline and your landing pages for each audience. And believe it or not, that will make a huge difference in your conversion and also in your click-through. Because like you've seen, if you see somebody that's really good at pay-per-click advertising in Google, they will actually insert dynamically the word that the person searched for into the headline of the ad.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you've ever seen that or not, but they'll dynamically insert that. Some of the bigger companies like Target and Walmart, they're doing that. Like if you see ads, paid ads on eBay, all of the big ones, they're all doing that. Like whatever you search for, they're going to insert that into their ad headline. And
Oh, wow.
It makes it highly relevant, and they get really good click-through ratios because of it. So that's, you want to observe when you see the big guys, what they're doing. You want to take notice of that because they've spent a lot of money to figure that stuff out. So the closer you can get, and even the landing page, like if you can dial the headline into the landing page for each particular segment of your audience, you will get better conversion ratios. There's no doubt whatsoever. Absolutely no doubt about it. It's a little more work to set it up, but once you've got it set up, you only have to do it once. You could set up 50 different audiences, and the difference in setting up 50 different audiences versus setting up one, it's not 50 times as much work. It might be like, 5 or 10 times as much work, but you get 50 times the results. So it's a really good, it's a good extrapolation of your efforts.
So does that mean, say for Facebook, because my priority is organic and then Facebook. So for Facebook, does that mean I need 50 different landing pages?
It could mean that. It depends on how close and how tightly your segments are. If your segments are different, then you might not need completely different landing pages. You might tweak just a couple of words. You might just tweak the headline. You might just, just tweak whatever it is to really make them feel like you're in tune with them. And a lot of people don't go to that. You don't have to go to that level, but if you're looking for maximum conversion, that's how you do it. The more you can speak their language, the more effective that you'll be in your marketing campaign. It's like with think about it the way you would do it if you were doing it face-to-face. If you were talking to a person, and let's say you were talking to Jim versus talking to Chris. Chris is into video, so you might throw a little bit of video language into when you speak to him, right? Mm-hmm. And that's going to resonate with him. That's going to convert better. So it's the same thing with your landing pages. If you know something about a particular segment of the audience, anything at all that you can do to add that into that landing page is going to resonate with them more, and it's going to get you better conversions. So that's really the whole point of it. When you're creating an automated marketing funnel, the whole idea is to replace the human aspect of it.
Right.
And that is the human aspect of it, is adjusting your language, adjusting your tone, adjusting everything to your avatar. In the real world, it's easy because we can just observe them. Like, if they sit back, we know they're disinterested. If they lean forward, we know we got them. But when you're setting up a marketing campaign, you have to really anticipate everything about it. So the closer you can get, the more you can segment that audience out and speak directly to them, the more effective you're going to be. So it doesn't mean, that you have to create 50 landing pages from scratch. You create one that's kind of your focus, your main one, that if you were to only have one, let's make the best one that you can.
Right.
And then let's copy that, let's duplicate that, and now how can we tweak that just slightly to go to just a little minor segment that's specific? So it's not like creating 50 landing pages. It's like creating one and then tweaking 49.
Right.
The tweaking might take you 5 minutes.
Right.
The first landing page might take you 3 weeks.
Right. Right. And then could you just say a couple of words about using what I should look for keywords to get my blog articles up?
Okay, now again, I want to kind of address the organic search. Organic SEO is going to take you a long time. So it's not like, unless you have a really authoritative site, let's say when you do a blog, you're not going to get instant search engine results typically.
Oh, right. I know.
If you've got a really hot blog and you've got, thousands of people on there, you can add a page and you can get immediate results and immediate traffic. I don't know that you have that in place yet, but if you don't, SEO can take you quite a while to get results and to get traffic. And if you're trying to create a marketing campaign that you need to get instant feedback and instant test results, search engine optimization really doesn't fit that puzzle very well.
Mm-hmm.
You always want to, everything you do, you always want to focus on the organic SEO, but knowing that it's going to be a longer term payoff. If you're trying to, let's say you put a landing page up and you're going to wait for organic SEO results to figure out if it's working or not, that's a bad scenario. You would be better off to buy, $50 or $100 worth of traffic and send it there in a day or 2 days and get your answer right now. And then that way, if you get the wrong answer, let's tweak it, fix it, do it again. And then then you can sit there and know in confidence when that organic traffic comes, it's going to convert and it's going to work and you're not going to waste time and money. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
But, from a strategic point of view, we want to know up front that what you're doing is going to convert whether it has traffic or not. Because when we're sitting there and we're waiting for organic search traffic, if we don't know it's going to convert, what happens when, the first 100 people, let's say it hits and the first 100 people come through and they hit it and it doesn't resonate with them and they bounce off, and now you've got a bad reputation with Google and it doesn't rank anymore.
Right.
So it's really important that that when the search traffic comes, it's going to get, maximum benefit out of it.
So in that case, it's writing a blog post. It might be more like a lead magnet sort of an article, much more than and then send Facebook traffic to it to see if it's going to resonate or not.
Yeah, any kind of traffic that you can send through. And when I say conversion, conversion can mean one of many things.
Right.
Maybe you want them to just consume the content. Maybe you want them to just watch the video to the end and then, click on the call to action at the end. Whatever your conversion may be, you just want to make sure that it's doing what you want it to do. Now, from an organic standpoint, I can tell you what you can do to your blog posts to make them highly attractive to the search engines, if that would be of benefit.
Yes.
The two biggest on-page factors is going to be your title and your description. And the thing about them, it's not just putting your keywords in them. It's about getting a really compelling call to action in your title and your description. Because when Google puts your site up and they say, okay, let's put Cynthia's site in the number 3 spot this week and just see what happens. And they do that. And if you get a good click-through ratio, if you get a better click-through ratio than the one in the number 2 spot, that tells Google Cynthia deserves the number 2 slot. Let's give that to her and see what happens. And then if you get more in that spot than the number 1, then they'll move you up to the number 1 spot. So the click-through ratio, the interaction, is really, really important. The next thing, and that's the whole reason that title and description, because that's all they have to see. When the search page comes up, there's 10 to choose from, and that's what you've got to work with. It's that title and description that's going to make them click. So anything at all that you can do to make that compelling, calls to action. If you use like, what are they called? If you use the schema codes can actually put graphical things onto your descriptions. Like if you have a rating, let's say you put a 5-star rating on there, that gives you a graphical thing that really pulls the eye to that listing versus the other 9. Walmart does a really good job at that, of putting schema codes in. They'll actually use inventory schema codes to show if they've got products in inventory. They'll put price schemas up, and sometimes you can actually even get logo schemas up. If you're a big brand, you can sometimes get your logo to show up with a schema code. So it just depends on how much trust value you've got with Google, whether they'll actually display it or not. But I've seen that happen on a lot of big brands, is they actually get the logo in the description, which, that's a really good pull on the eye to get you to click on that listing. Anything you can do, like in eBay, they sell bolded listings. They sell a box. You can put like a red outline around your ad, and people buy those because they get more clicks.
But for people starting out, when you're tiny and when you don't have a big brand budget.
Well, anything you can do, like you're in total control of your title and description,
right?
And you're also in total control of adding schema tags. If you add schema tags that put, any kind of rating or even your location, anything that makes your listing look different will draw their attention. So it's all about making you stand out to get that click-through ratio.
Can I ask Cynthia a question? Is that your end product? Is your blog?
No. My end product is a $2,000 one-on-one training class for women entrepreneurs.
So, John, would that make a difference in how she does her strategy for getting to that big ticket? Is her blog really her primary?
Yeah, it definitely does. So if that's your goal, if your end goal is to sell that one-on-one coaching, basically what you've got is an education-based marketing process to get to that. So your blog, her blog is a good way for her to display her credibility, to display her, her knowledge and all that, and build that demand and desire. But you've got to get them into that. It's probably not a good lead-in if you're just waiting for organic search traffic to do that. I would prefer to see you drive that business than to sit back and wait for it. So creating a good landing page with a good solid offer on the front to get them in. And one of the things, if you go back to analysis, you'll see there's a timeline. There's a timeline for your prospects. And on the timeline, it starts on the left with where they are currently, and then on the right with where they want to be. Like today, where they see their desired outcome is going to be on the right side of that timeline. What you should do is fill in every step that they're going to need to take to get from where they are to where they want to be. And a perfect lead magnet is addressing the first step. That's a perfect thing to offer up, is that first step, because if you give them that first step and you're able to walk them through that and give them that result in advance, you're going to build their confidence that they can actually get through the timeline and get to their desired outcome. A lot of people they have a belief that they can't do it. So when you raise their confidence level that they actually can do it, their desire to buy a $2,000 product is going to go through the roof. If they have a belief that they can't get the desired outcome, then they have no desire to spend anything to do anything, because they're in a mindset of they don't believe they can do it. So if you can just address that one first step, you will start building their confidence that they can. And then you put them into your marketing system, and the next thing is just deliver the next step. Deliver the next step. The closer you can get them to their desired outcome, their demand for the product is going to go through the roof. Their confidence to know that they can actually do it is going to go through the roof. That's how you sell $2,000 coaching programs or $10,000 coaching programs. You've got to build their belief that they can actually get to the end of the rainbow, and you are the one that's going to take them there.
So it is good for her to spend money on Facebook ads for a blog. I just want to make sure I'm hearing that right.
It's only good for her to spend money on anything once she's got that first piece in place. So strategically, you've got to have an entry point for your education-based marketing system. Now, your blog might have 50, 100, 200 pages of different steps on it. Those are all entryways. Every one of your lead magnets should be an entryway into your education-based marketing system. I would say that's going to be your best bet to deliver, prospects out of cold traffic for you, is to build that marketing system that educates them on they can get the desired outcome and the different steps it's going to take, and actually delivering them results on the front end.
I do have a lead magnet, and I think what you're describing is, or I'm wondering, this one last question. Neil Patel, you're probably familiar with Neil Patel.
Sure.
So he's, I guess, just a god when it comes to driving traffic, right? He's got a pretty big name.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I know he does that I so want to emulate is he does these epic, long, detailed guides. They're blog posts, but they're like tutorials, and they're very sort of deep. So I thought, well, that might be rather, because with mine right now, I have a lead magnet, which my people love it when they get it, but not that, opting in is such a challenge. So
okay, actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I kind of got derailed. I was in the middle of telling you what makes a great blog post for Google, and this is a perfect segue to come back to where I left off. I kind of left you there with the click-through part of getting them to click through.
Right.
The next step is making sure they don't bounce back. So you want to eliminate your bounce rate, and you want them to stay on the site as long as possible. And with Neil, that's why he uses very long, detailed, descriptive posts, is to keep people on his site as long as possible. Google loves that. When Google sends a person to your site and they spend a long time there, that's basically sending a message back to Google that they got a good user experience. And Google wants to provide good user experiences. So they're more apt to send more people your way once they figure out you're providing that good user experience. So one of the ways, longer content is always better in a post. Like, a lot of the SEO guys, they're talking about 500-word posts, which those are almost worthless at this point. They're still stuck in the old days. They haven't realized the user experience and how important it is. So there's a couple of ways that you can increase the ratio that people will stay on your site and consume your content. And one of the ways is to break your content up into little chunks. Make it very easy to consume and make it very easy on the eyes. If you just put like a long blog post with all text, that's horrible to look at. That's a bad experience from a user point. You want to have a headline for almost every paragraph.
Yeah.
Should be broken up into a headline and a short chunk. And the job of the headline, the purpose of the headline, is to get them to consume the next piece.
Right.
Get them to consume, get them hooked and to consume the next chunk. The other way to do this is to use video. If you're using video, some people get it wrong. When you use video, if you just put like a 45-minute video in there and you just go on and on and on, you're going to lose them pretty quick. you've got to do your video the same way you're doing your content. You need to break it into little chunks, and you need to tell them constantly what's coming up next so you keep their attention. If you just go on, they're going to get to the point where they don't know why they're there, and you're going to lose them. But if you do like you do with your blog post, you cut it into chunks, and you have these headlines that tells them why they're staying for the next section, your videos will be much more beneficial. They'll hold the people on there, and as long as they're excited and they're getting value, they're going to stick it out and watch the video. Same thing with reading your content. If they're getting value, and you might actually deliver some of your lead magnets in your blog posts.
Yeah.
Like, you can walk them through, like, let's say you take the first step of where they need to go on their timeline journey, and you put that into a tutorial like Neil does, and you put that on your site, and then at the end of that, you can get them to opt in for step number 2. If you deliver enough value and enough upfront value and confidence that they can move to the next step, they're very likely at that point to opt in to get to the next one. That's a really good way to go there. The other thing you want to do too is you want to retarget. In case they don't opt in, you want to make sure that you're retargeting those people. And retargeting, most people will get this wrong, and Facebook makes this really, really difficult because Facebook only gives you one retargeting pixel per campaign. And that makes it really difficult because if you only have one targeting pixel and you put that on all your pages, you can't really effectively retarget them in a segmented fashion. The ACT program is all about segmenting for maximum conversion. And you can't do that with the way Facebook wants you to retarget. So we have another company that I work with that does segmented retargeting. And what they'll do, they can look at all kinds of different factors on how they're going to display a retargeted ad. They can do it based on if the person stayed on the site for more than 30 seconds. Because with Facebook, if you just retarget your audience, you might get, 50% of your people might hit your site and jump off immediately. They weren't interested. So if you're paying for retargeting, you're basically paying to retarget people that are not interested. That can get expensive real quick. So with segmented retargeting, you can retarget them based on what they looked at on your site. You can target them based on how long they spent on your site. Like you might say, follow the people around that hit this page and stayed on it for more than 20 seconds. That's really powerful. And follow them with this ad. And this ad would lead them into the next lead magnet. It would lead them into, another way to get them back into your marketing campaign. So from a strategic standpoint, you want to have as many different ways into your marketing campaign as possible. And I don't know if you were on the earlier call, the Dominator call, the ACT call that I do every week on Thursday, but we talked about the pyramid of awareness. And the pyramid of awareness, at the bottom of the pyramid, you have your biggest opportunity. The most people are down there in the unaware state. So if they're in the unaware state, you can hit them with ads. Basically on Facebook, you can't hit them with search ads or search traffic because they're unaware, they're not searching. But you can hit them with targeted ads like on Facebook and Instagram and different social media places where they are, and you can get them into your funnel and retarget them as well. But it's a different ad based on, like, if they're higher up in the pyramid of awareness, let's say they're aware of the problem, you would want to hit them with different ads. You want to hit them with problem aware ads. If they're higher up, then they're in solution awareness and they're looking for solutions. At that point, it converts over and your traffic sources open up. Now you can go to search traffic because they're aware of the problem and they're searching for solutions. But if you try that with an unaware audience, you're not going to get anywhere because they're not searching. So strategically figuring out what level of awareness your prospects are at and figuring out, what your ads are going to be, what your headlines are going to be. They're going to change. It's almost like another sort of a timeline. Your prospect is, they're at this state of unawareness, and then you make them aware. And then, they're first aware of the problem, and then you make them aware of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Then you make them aware of the product. I see so many people that are introducing a product before they've even educated them that there's a problem. And, that's out of order. That's out of sequence.
Right.
A lot of times, you'll introduce a product and they don't have any demand or desire for the product, so you lose them. So before you introduce the product, you want to create demand and desire for the product that they don't even know exists yet. Like if you look at the way Frank Kern marketed Mass Control, you didn't even know what the product was until almost the last week of the campaign. What he was doing was he was walking you through the timeline, showing you where you wanted to go and what you were going to have to do to get there. And then the very last week of the campaign, he introduced you to the product that he was about ready to release, which was Mass Control. He built you into a belief that that was going to be a $10,000 product. And at that point, you almost couldn't live without it. And then the last day, he opened the shopping cart and he released it at $2,000, where you were already convinced it was going to be 10, and you were already sold on the $10,000 price point. And he sold them out. He sold 1,000. I think it was 1,000 units that he sold out in 20 minutes at $2,000 a pop. So, it was I think it was a 4 or 6 week education-based marketing campaign that sold, $2 million worth of product in 20 minutes. It was very, very effective. But he used the exact strategy of the timeline. He walked the people through the timeline and gave them confidence that they could actually get the outcome. And that was really nothing more. All he was selling was Mass Control, was nothing more than an email sequence marketing program. He was basically just showing you how to market using email. That was it. It was ridiculous.
But it was new at the time.
Yeah, exactly. It was that thing where that was his unique mechanism that wasn't used yet. Mm-hmm. Now at this point, if you tried to market Mass Control and everybody knows it's just an email program, they would never pay $2,000 for it. And even that, he's so good at what he does, I believe he probably still could sell it. But he would have to package it up a little bit differently.
He currently gives it away, John.
Yeah. So then now that's his new lead magnet. He's giving it away. So.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So does that kind of give you an idea of where, strategically where you should be kind of focused? And
yes, I need to zoom up a bit and rethink my my approach. And for me, content is easy for me because I already have my training program, so I can make a mashup of a Neil Patel style long tutorial. A couple thousand words is easy for me.
Yeah. The longer the better. Like a couple thousand words is perfect.
Yeah. And then
the 500 word thing's kind of gone by now.
Yeah. And then the thing I really appreciate that you said that I hadn't thought of before is at the end of that, because right now I have one lead magnet. But if they last with me through 2,000 words and an exercise or two that I'll throw in, I can come up with a different lead magnet for the next step. It's that problem solution. Okay, now you solve the problem of knowing your perfect client. Now, wouldn't it be great if you could identify their top 5 core problems? That's the next thing I teach them how to do.
Yeah. Now, here's another thing about that. You don't necessarily need a new lead magnet for the ones you've already got into your first lead magnet. You just need to trickle them out more content. You need to put them into, what's called an education-based marketing system that will introduce them to the next step. It doesn't, you don't have to get them to opt in again. They're already in the program. If you want to create new lead magnets, you can create new lead magnets for people that are at different levels of awareness. Like, what about the people that are aware of the problem that you solve, and they've already been introduced to another solution, and they're in another marketing campaign? So what you want to do is you want to focus on grabbing their attention, giving them a different lead magnet that's focused on where they are, because they're on a different point on their timeline. You know, they might already be 2 or 3 steps down the timeline. So for you to be able to bring those people in, that's a different lead magnet. And then again, when you go one step up higher in the pyramid of awareness, you'll have people that are focused on solution. They're already aware of the problem, and they're focused on solution now. So a different lead magnet would appeal to them. If you tried to hit them with a problem lead magnet, they're already beyond that. That's not going to be of interest to them. So your prospects, understanding that timeline of where they absolutely start and where they absolutely end, and knowing that you're going to have people on different levels of awareness that you're trying to market to on the front end, that's going to dictate from a strategic standpoint what lead magnets you need and who they get delivered to. But once they bite on a lead magnet, wherever they are, whatever level of awareness they're at, when they bite on that lead magnet, you don't need another lead magnet for them. You just need to pull them into the system and plug them in where they belong, and then let them proceed forward through the rest of the marketing funnel. The higher they are on the pyramid, the closer they are to a purchase. Like if you take somebody on the unaware and you give them an offer, they're nowhere close to being ready for an offer. So that's a waste. But if you take somebody that's already gone through the unaware, the problem aware, the solution aware, the product aware, and now they're in the offer aware phase, those are the type of people that you can just send a simple email with an order link and they'll buy. Like I know in my SEO Dominator community, I do that all the time. I make lots of sales off of an email with an order link, because they're at that point in their level of awareness that I've already found a product that solves a problem that I'm experiencing, and then I just introduce that to them. I say, look, here's a problem we have collectively as this SEO community. I've been looking for a while. I found this thing. It does this. I'm using it this way. Here's the order link if you want to take advantage of it like I am. And they just go buy it. You know, they don't need a marketing funnel. They're at the top pyramid of that pyramid of awareness. They're ready to buy right now. So just depending on that, that's going to dictate from a strategy point how long your marketing funnel needs to be. If you're bringing them in unaware, it needs to be a very long process. Don't expect them to buy right away. Mm-hmm. The other thing about that, when you're paying for traffic, you could pay for traffic that is not going to convert to a sale possibly for months down the road. So don't look at that as, well, I put $100 in and I didn't make any ROI. You don't know that yet until they've had a chance to go through your entire process. So right. You got to keep that in mind when you're doing your numbers. You know, a lot of people think, hey, I can put, $1,000 into Facebook and I should make $1,500 back immediately. Well, that's not necessarily true. You might make that $1,500 back, but it might be over the course of a month or 2 months. You know, like Perry Belcher, I talked about this on the last call. He has a product for nail biting, and he hits the unaware market. And he basically, a lot of people bite their nails, but they're not aware that there's a problem, right? So what he does is he brings that problem out and he exposes it. And from an NLP standpoint, that's like reticular activation. He's reticularly activated them they have a problem. So now every time they go to bite their nails, they recognize, hey, this is a problem. And he has a marketing campaign that he hits them about every 2 weeks because he realized that's about how long it takes for those nails to grow back. And his subject line is simply, still biting your nails? ? So he says it's about the 7th to 9th time is when they actually make the purchase. He hits them with the exact same email 7 times in a row every couple of weeks. And it's like the 7th to 9th time, they finally succumb. They're like, yep, I'm still biting my nails. Okay, let's fix this. And they just buy the product. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your numbers and figuring your ROI. It may not come back right away. You know, if you look at Agura will invest I think it's 6 to 10 months in their customers, knowing that it's going to be 6 to 10 months before they make a profit. You know, they're putting out millions of dollars knowing that, you know, it's going to be the better part of a year before they get profit back out of it. But once they do, it's a lot of profit. You know, so keep that in mind. The other thing is when you're setting up your marketing funnel, make sure that you put one-time offers in there. You know, because let's say you've got a $2,000 program and it's, you know, it's coaching, so it's going to take your time, so it's not all profit. You know, it's not like a digital product where, you know, it could be 100% profit and completely hands off. You're going to actually have to spend time on this coaching program. So you figure, what does that cost you? What's your time worth? And then that gives you your profit margin of what you're going to make outside of your time. Because when you're getting paid for your time, don't consider that profit. You need to build profit into your product. So whatever your profit is, you need to make a sale for less than the cost of that profit, unless you have a back end. This is where a lot of the marketers can really kill each other or kill other competitors, because they can spend more on the advertising than the other competitors because they have a back end that's highly profitable. They don't need to make money on the front end. So you can add like one-time offers. Like, let's say you have your coaching program and you can afford to spend all of your profit to get a customer if you have an upsell offer, you know, that 40 to 50% of them are going to take, that's highly profitable. And on yours, I don't know offhand exactly what that would be, but think in terms of that. It's always about what's the next thing. When you bring anybody into your program, what are they going to need next? Because here's the cool thing. When you take them on the timeline from where they are and you deliver your results and you get them to where they want to be, that's a success, right? You know, you should feel really good about that because you've delivered on your promise. But what that does, that creates a whole new timeline for that prospect. That prospect now, where they are is the beginning of their timeline. Nobody is ever happy with where they are. They always want to be somewhere else. Right. So your product is just going to create a whole new timeline. You just need to figure out what that is, and that will tell you what your next product is. So you always have a back end. I want you guys to be thinking about that. Whatever you're doing, it's not the end of the rainbow. It's only the beginning. This is like client acquisition. From a business strategic standpoint, client acquisition is the way you scale a business. The profit's always in the back end. If you've got product in the front end, that is awesome. You know, if you can make money on your front end product, that is absolutely awesome, but it's not necessarily the goal. It doesn't have to be that way. Sometimes you can lose money on the front end as long as you've got a back end that is profitable and it's going to make up for it, more than make up for it. You know, in the real world, that's just loss leaders. You know, a lot of times you'll see an advertisement where they'll be selling something and, you know, it's probably something you don't really even need, but it's so cheap, you know, you can't even, you know, they couldn't even buy it for that. You're buying it for less than it costs them. It's like an irresistible offer. So you go in to take advantage of it. And guess what? It's in the back corner of the store. You're going to have to walk past all this other stuff. And in the meanwhile, you're putting all this stuff in your basket that is going to be profitable for them. You know, you never just go in and just buy the one item. Generally, the one item will go to another group of other stuff that's highly profitable for them. You know, like they'll sell a, you know, one piece of a furniture set, you know, or something like that, or they'll give you three glasses or 4 glasses. They'll give you a part of something that you're going to want the whole rest of the set.
Right.
And that's where they make their money. That's a loss leader. So your front end offer might be nothing but a loss leader just to do client acquisition. Once you've acquired a client, it's much easier to sell them more stuff. So the back end, clients should last a lifetime. I literally have clients from 30 years ago. They're still buying my stuff. It's like, I don't even remember what it took to acquire them in the beginning, but it doesn't matter. They're a lifetime of profit. I use a lot of times I'll use the example of the woman that made the maternity dresses. She didn't realize she was sitting on top of a gold mine, and she was wondering how she was going to make enough profit out of those dresses to survive. And she just didn't realize she was sitting on an absolute gold mine. When I told her you can give the dress away, the look on her face was like, what? But then once she saw how that fit into the overall strategy, it just blew her mind. So always be thinking about, when you're building your programs and building the stuff that you're going to sell, what's next? What's on the back end of that? And like Jim mentioned in Frank Kern's case, he's actually giving mass control away for free now. That's a client acquisition technique. He'll give you that and a whole bunch of other stuff to get you into his monthly coaching program, and that's his back end. So he can literally afford to advertise to give that away. It's costing him money to advertise to give that free thing away. So he's going negative right out of the gate, but he's acquiring a customer, and he's using that as his means to do that. Mm-hmm. So these, a lot of these marketers, you can learn a lot from them if you observe and you really, really look under the hood and take notice of what they're doing and why they're doing it. A lot of people just see it and they just kind of pass it off. They don't really spend the time to say, why are they doing that? What's going on there? What's really happening here? And when you look at what's really going on, and you go, wow, that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's see. Anything else? Anything else I can help you guys with? Or?
Hey, John, since this is the official launch of the ACT program, I've downloaded the program, and what would like the homework assignment be, or what would the goal be between now and next call? My plan is. Go ahead.
One thing I've got that's really going to be cool for you guys, we're working on it right now, is we've set up Basecamp. And Basecamp is a project management software, and we're creating the entire ACT framework inside of Basecamp. So all of you guys are going to get assigned the project of ACT, and then as you go through, you can check things off. So your accountability coach that's going to call you every week, what they're going to do, they're just going to check in with you. They will actually have access to look at your Basecamp and see if you're on track, and if not, or where you've missed out. One of the most important things I cannot stress enough is that you actually go back and do the stuff in sequence. A lot of times you'll be at a point and you'll think, oh, well, yeah, I don't need to go back. But going back and picking up those little pieces that you missed can make all the difference in the world. Like the web analysis report, the wants, emotions, and beliefs. If you go into creation and you don't have that, that's going to cost you. Not understanding their wants, emotions, and beliefs when you start writing copy and creating your ads and your headlines and all that, that's really going to leave you at a deficit. So just really going back and picking up all that little stuff, there's a reason for every piece I put in the program. It's not just put in there for fluff. Every one of those pieces is put in there to give you guys the maximum benefit, to get this right and be profitable as quickly as possible. So my biggest recommendation would just be going back, making sure, recomb through. If you have to go through the stuff 2 or 3 times, that's fine. The more you get exposed to it and the more you use it, the more you're going to get familiar with it and the more you're going to get out of it. So it's my goal really for you to get the maximum benefit out of every step of this process. And I guarantee you, once you get this, you get your head wrapped around the system, it's going to be probably one of the most powerful things that you walk away in life with. Understanding how to do this, once you get the first one, the second one's going to be so easy. You will be wanting to make marketing funnels. It's like, once you get that, it's almost addictive. It's like me, when I send out emails and I make sales, it's so exciting. It truly is addictive. And this gives you the opportunity to go outside of that, go outside your mailing list and go out and create offers for different markets that need help with stuff. It really, it's just going to make the whole world your oyster.
So I should be just taking the ACT program and just starting from the beginning. If I haven't filled out, page one, step 1, step 2, step 3, just starting there and just progressing through that.
Yeah, and also getting on these calls, because like the strategy, there's a lot of things that, you might be looking at the different steps in ACT and you might not understand how they fit together. Some people need to have that understanding ahead of time of what they're doing now, how it's going to fit into the future. And these calls are perfect for that. If you've got questions about anything, that's my job here to make sure that you understand not only what you're doing, but why you're doing it, how it's going to fit into the overall puzzle. Because a lot of people perform a lot better when they get the whole big picture and they understand, okay, I'm not just doing busy work. I'm not just, going through the motions here. There's a purpose for all of this. So anywhere that I can, I can help you with this. And I'm not familiar probably with a lot of your businesses, but I have had exposure to a lot of different scenarios and businesses. And, I kick stuff off of me, brainstorm. That's what these are all about. I'm here, every week I've got the Thursday call from, 11 to 12. You guys have access to that. And then we've got 6 of these type of conference calls, the video conferences, every month. So, take full advantage of that. I'm here to help you any way I can. So take advantage of me. So, all right. Anything else? Anybody else got questions or stumbling blocks or up against the wall? And all right.
John,
Yes, go ahead.
how do we get access? And maybe I missed it because I had to look up something. How do we get access to that accountability program?
The Basecamp program?
Yeah, Basecamp.
We're in the middle of configuring it right now. As soon as we configure it, we're going to set up an account for each one of you guys. Okay. So everybody that's in the Apprentice program, they will get assigned basically it's called a project, and the project is ACT basically. So we're creating the framework for the project right now, and it's going to have like every step, so you can literally check it off like a checklist. And then as you check it off, another thing we're working on doing is putting the workbook up electronically, so you can fill the workbook out as you go, and then your accountability coach has access to see that. And then I've also got access to see that. So let's say you come on to like the technology call and you've got some questions, the technology coach can look at your workbook and see where you're at and see right exactly where you need help. If you get to the point where you're running ads and, we're doing let's say our test and tweak call where we're looking at your results, and then I can go back and I can look at your workbook and I can probably tell you what you missed. If you're not getting good results, I can probably go right back and say, well, where's your web analysis? How did we miss that important piece? So that's what that program is going to be all about. And I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to, it's not it's not to like hold your nose to the grindstone. It's to make sure that you get, when you start going to pay for traffic, it's to make sure that you make money with it. That's the whole point.
I think it's a phenomenal tool because it also helps the accountability coaches.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's human nature to want to speed ahead.
Yeah.
And the whole process of the ACT system is it is a systematic, sequential program.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
once you get it, here's the cool part too. I know there's a lot of you that like to skip ahead and want to skip ahead. Once you do the first one and you understand the whole process, then you can skip ahead. It's like what drove James and Cheryl and several of you absolutely nuts was my ability to jump gaps. And you're like, whoa, how did you get there? And that's where we had to go back and actually break down from beginning to end. And that's where we came up with the entire ACT protocol. So once you get to that point, you will be able to do that too. You know, you won't think it's like I've got some sort of a magic wand. It's just I know all the steps so well. I can, you know, it doesn't matter where I am. I can think forward and backwards, and I can just get lost in it where you'll be like, how did you get there? You know, what did you do before that? I'm like, well, I didn't do anything before that. I just went there. So.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
When you say you're putting the workbook on electronically, how do you do that?
Well, I'm not really sure. I have to ask my technology team.
Okay.
They're going to create it in a Acrobat format.
Okay.
That is fillable. So the exact how you do that, I'm not really sure, but that's what they're going to do. Is they're going to make an Adobe Acrobat fillable document, and then you'll be able to work on it online, upload it, and it will be like a Google Doc.
Yeah. Is that expensive to have done? To have something electronic?
I don't think so. I don't think it's an expensive process. It's just a matter of you've got to have the right version of Adobe Acrobat. And since we made the initial thing in InDesign, that's an Adobe product too. So I think that's going to make it even easier.
Okay, thank you.
But the little nitty-gritty nuts and bolts, I'm not really sure. You can ask on the technology call. You can hit Tommy with that one. So, all right. Anything else? Any last minute stuff before we wrap up our first call here? Oh, all right, guys. Well, hey, I mentioned this on the last call. 4th of July is not only my favorite holiday, it marks the halfway point in the year. So we have a half a year left to make it happen and make 2017 a good year, one of the best years for you. And so what that comes down to is it's time to get your act together. So we got 6 months to get our acts together. So let me know if there's anything at all that I can do to help in the process. I'm going to be on the call next week as well for the analysis part. So that's what next week's conference call is going to be about. So kind of dig in this week, dig your heels in. If there's any questions at all about analysis, hop on here with me next week and we'll bring you up to speed on it.
Oh, John, could you remind us if we have questions as we're going through inside the community? Where I was slightly confused at the 2 different places to put questions.
Okay. If you place your questions in the forum, the support forum, that's probably the most beneficial. So in the support forum, questions basically will live forever because they're searchable, and it's like a library. If you ask them just on the post, like if you just ask them in the feed, if you're just looking for like some feedback, you'd probably put it in the feed. You know, that way people looking at the feed could respond immediately to you and they don't have to go into the forum and all that. But questions, if you're looking for questions, my goal is to have all the questions that could possibly ever come up be answered in the forum or in the Q&A section. So like, let's say you're in the middle of the night and come up with a question. my hopes is someone else has already come up with that question and it's been answered, so you could just go in there and get your answer 24/7.
Okay.
So the forum is the best place for real questions about the program or anything like that. If you're working on your funnel, or let's say you're playing with your headlines and you just want some feedback, then go into the feed and just get feedback there. So.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, my pleasure. All right, guys. Well, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up here and end the recording. It was great. I really enjoy this. I really like helping you guys and seeing the results and all that. So let's keep it going. Let's.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, thank you. All right, guys. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.